Welcome to Construction Champions Podcast, where we are burning the house down and rebuilding it twice a week. I'm your host, Nussbaum, and I am here to help you become the champion that you're meant to be. Along with our amazing guests along the way, we will provide you with the resources, the latest and greatest. You will sit down with disruptors in the construction industry. And my goal from day one has always been to change the mindset around the construction industry. No more where we let the 3% of bad apes dictate the entire reputation of our industry. Welcome back, Construction Champions. I am Ron Nussbaum. I'm your conversation facilitator here on Construction Champions Podcast, where we talk about raising the bar, becoming the champion that you're meant to be. It's not just business, it's relationships, it's your personal life, fitness, health, you name it, we throw it all in here. And I just don't do it myself. You don't tune in to listen to me ramble for 30 minutes on what my opinions are. We bring on amazing people from the industry and we have great conversations. And today is no different. I'm super excited for our guest today. I have gotten to know him over the last few years, and I am excited to have the conversation. He's out there. He's in the construction world every day running his own business. Joel, it is great to have you here today.
Well, Ron, it's great to have you, and I appreciate we have, I haven't met you directly. We've had a lot of phone conversations, text messages, and a good bit of video calls over the last, I think, year or two at this point. I appreciate you giving the introduction. I'm Joel Ward. I'm a newbie to the construction industry, actually. Not so much a newbie as I worked in corporate for 17 years. Quit corporate after 17 years of dealing with so much drama and watching so many people take my ideas and turn them into something. And one day I looked out the window of my office I was sitting in and I was like, I can't do this anymore. I told my wife, I said, I'm going to start a construction business. I did this in high school. It was one of my passions to help people work with the community. I worked on mission trips in different countries, you name it, Mexico, Belize, Costa Rica, war-torn, as I say, war-torn Galveston after it got hit with the hurricane. I mean, it was a mess. We went in and we did cleanup work. So after high school, I wanted to do that. And there just wasn't enough drive or something in me that made me want to do it, I guess. And didn't have a lot of support. I had a lot of people in my life that were pushing me towards psychology or different things. And I ended up in corporate doing cybersecurity, IT, different things, car salesman after high school. And none of it was what I was passionate about. My passions were about community and driving the area to be more community focused towards its elderly, towards its younger people, towards helping those around them. My company, I've gone through two phases, actually. I started last year, NJ.Work Construction. That failed because I put a poor business model together. I tried to do everything up front. I got the building, I got everything up front. And if a bit of advice I can give you, don't do that. I did everything at once, bought all the tools, bought everything I needed, and we crashed. We didn't go bankrupt or anything. We funded everything through a cash deposit. But it failed. And I was very discouraged. And when we were cleaning out our building and gathering our tools and moving out of there, I had a couple of my team members pull me aside in our conference room, what we were clearing out, and say, you want to do this. Why don't you start over? Keep going with it. And a lot of people, Ron included, were very encouraging towards this goal of building that construction company. So we went back in and we decided, why don't we try something different? Demolition. We got into demolition after realizing the costly, amount that would cost for insurance and everything. We canceled that idea and moved into what is our full-time goal right now, Titan Legacy Builders LLC, a community-focused construction company that focuses not only community and trying to give back, but also bringing the expertise that we all have, expertise that I have. Again, I didn't go to a trade school. I learned this all from actually during high school. While I was in high school, I worked for a master cabinet maker, master electrician, master plumber. All of these were my friends' parents or fathers or brothers, whoever. I worked for them. And I learned that this is what I'd like to do. So I took all that, put it into Titan Legacy Builders, which was at one point J.Ward, which was one point Titan Demolition. and built a model that is holding and has built a very successful amount of money for us to help others in our community. Now, when I say that, it's not been a struggle. There has been times where, and Ron knows this, everybody knows this, we go through a month of dry spells where we have no jobs and we just twiddle our thumbs. Here at Titan Legacy, what our goal is, instead of having those downtimes, we have created an adaptation of that. We have Holloway, we have cleanouts, we support other construction businesses in the area. We actually are working on building a trucking company right now that is going to support the supply delivery and equipment delivery of other companies that maybe don't even want us to work for them directly as a construction company, but will allow us to help them bring their supplies, because it is crucial right now with the infrastructure we have, with everything and the economy as it is. It is so hard to get certain companies to deliver for a certain price. We try and bring that price to a middle ground where everybody can agree on, where we can bring the supplies on our trucks, our trailers, and everything that we can, provide for that company. And it has made a good business model. Again, it doesn't have its faults. There is days where we have no money coming in, but that's how it works. And we've done really well. Again, I've worked very hard in corporate for 17 years, and I think that learning from others in that industry was watching corporations fall apart because they were choosing to treat employees that worked hard I was in there for only 17 years. There was people that had worked there for 20 something years that were cast out for having ideas and just pushed aside. What my goal is for the people that work for me, whether they're subs, whether they work directly with me, whether they're friends, is to build up their expertise even if they have none. I've had brought several younger grouped children. I would say children. They're children to me because I'm a little bit older. Younger generations in this industry with me that have had no experience, and they have excelled and built something. This is their first job. This is their second job. This is their only job in construction. And this is something that has helped them get an education level in hard labor. Over the summer, we did a tear down of a playground. I had this 21-year-old kid working for me. And I tell you, he was out in the 100-degree sun with a jackhammer, and he didn't blink once. He didn't even take a break. While I was going back to the truck and getting some water and taking a break, and he took water breaks, he didn't take a lunch break. This kid pounded through it. It was the first time he'd ever done this. I like to see that, because as Mike Rose said, and Ron probably has heard this, Mike Rose says there is a dying industry of construction workers between electricians, plumbers, and stuff. One of the dirtiest jobs I've had to do in this industry is plumbing. I don't know if Ron's had to do, I don't know if anybody else who listens to this done plumbing. Plumbing is the worst job you can do. I don't mind electrical. I don't mind framing. Plumbing is probably one of the worst things I do. I have hit some dirty jobs doing that. But sanitation wise, we make good money on plumbing, because that's one of the dying things around here. All the older gentlemen, I was at Lowe's this other day, ran into a guy who told me his kids don't want the business. These younger guys that work for him are all leaving to go find pursuits in cybersecurity, IT. They don't want to do it anymore. And he said, no one wants to do plumbing. And he said, unfortunately, that's how the game works. You get to a certain point and everybody realizes there's so much more in tech now, then they don't want to get their hands dirty. I like getting my hands dirty. I mean, my hands are dirty now. I just got done a shift out cleaning up snow and stuff, and cleaning up dirt, cleaning up debris. That's what I do. I come home, more dirty than most people do on a daily routine, but this is what I love to do. And seeing the reaction of the community, seeing a lot of the faces of we have a lot of elderly clients, seeing their faces is what really keeps driving me. We do a lot of support work for those elderly community members. And one of the things that they tell me is that there is not a company like me that's willing to sit down and talk for an hour and just hear their stories and take that time where I could be doing a job, take that time to listen to them, support them, and come up. I just got a call from my 80-year-old client the other day. He's 80 years old, calls me and says, hey, can I throw you $20 to bring this one thing up for me? He lives 20 minutes up the road. Yes, $20 for 20 minutes. People look at me whenever I say that, and I have a lot of people in my life who hear me take that $20 or $10 and do a lot of work for that. But here's where it gets me good clients. Those $10 worth of clients that may be really older and don't have much money or on Social Security, pass me their family members, pass me a friend, pass me a neighbor, and I make $200, $300 the next week. That's where I differ from a lot of companies there. I'll take the low end jobs. I'll take $20, $30 for an hour's worth of work, because yes, that's not just a job to me. It's building my community up to show that there's more care in this area than a lot of the contractors. I'm not dogging contractors. I have a lot of good contractors I work alongside. There is a big group of us that do all we can to help. There's a lot more help that can be given. I was raised in a mission group environment where I would go out to the poorest of the poor in other countries and do things for free off my own dime. So my thing is I don't do it on my own dime, but I try and lessen the load of what I can do for the community, whether that's gathering up more supplies and sticking them in my shed or storage unit to then support the local community by having the supplies ready to go so they can give me $10, or it's someone donating extra on top of their bill to help the other members of the community that they support as well.
I love it, man. For context for our listeners, where are you located at?
I'm located in Pennsylvania in a town called Waynesboro. It's very small. Most people don't even know they're going through it. Although our growth over the years went from, I think 10,000 community members to now almost, I think they said 20 or 30 as of this year. Once they did the census, it was like this year or last year. We are a growing community. We have more corporations in this town, more franchises. And the difference is we have a lot of franchises coming in, whether it's roofing, electrical, plumbing. Those franchisees will take the money that they're given, and sometimes the work is very shoddy. And this is not poking at anybody's work. I have had to come in and clean up a lot of jobs, whether it's electrical, plumbing, or roofing. A buddy of mine does roofing, or it's fixing siding, and it's stuff that makes me cringe because I worked in corporate, maybe not in the construction industry, but seeing how corporations work gave me an idea that I don't want to be like that. Money is great. Money pays the bills at the end of the day. I don't need money if it means that I'm hurting my community. If I'm taking from someone who can give me less to help them give me more. And what I mean by that is they give me that $10. I turn around and hand them 3 business cards or a stack. They hand that stack their neighbors, their community members, or we just tell them, look, you give us $10. You put our sign in your front yard saying we did the work. You don't tell anybody how much you paid us. Just don't say anything. We'll give you some cards, and if anybody asks here, hand them out. And that has been a better marketing practice than sticking a giant $1,000 billboard on the side of the road here. And you wouldn't believe it. We actually, over the summer, we're so busy. We slowed down closer to fall. We're back being busy again, and we're already out and doing things. And again, our outdoor work slows down because as safety reasons, I try and keep my team safe. But indoor work, we're in the process of doing a big 1800s era home in the middle of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. I don't know if your listeners know where that's at. But there is a big project being done right now by our entire team, and we are extremely grateful for the work. It's one of my biggest projects yet, and when it's all said and done, I'll be posting pictures, and Ron, you'll see it as well on my socials. But it is one of the most hands-on projects we've had to do. We've had foundation work, plumbing, knob and tube wiring, plaster removal. I mean, it's a cast iron tubs, sinks. It is the biggest project that we've had to do with support of other community members, whether it's a garbage removal company or electricians or other stuff. We have a ton of support with our business.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm going to ask you the $1 million question, and that is, what makes a construction champion?
So if you would ask me that starting this out, first time I did this, I think that you asked me this question, I think on the message, we had a talk on the phone while I was sitting in my office at the time when I had an office. And I think, I had this big idea. I take more of a humble approach now. What makes a construction champion now is someone who's willing to step out of their comfort zone, willing to break rules, as it were. I hire a lot of females, and I know there's a lot of females in the industry, but in this area, it's a very male-dominated force. And I step out of my comfort zone to hire people that actually gets me bad press, believe it or not. And I believe a construction champion is someone who's willing to break the rules, step out of the comfort zone, take a giant leap of faith, and say, I'm going to do this whether people like it or not, because at the end of the day, who cares if they like you? You're doing it for yourself and the members that you're serving. I do it because I liked what I did back then. I hated myself in corporate. I moved out of that, and I wanted to be what Ron calls a construction champion. I wanted to be someone who revolutionizes, and I use that word a lot at LinkedIn, revolutionizes the industry to help shape the future of future entrepreneurs going into construction, or electricians or plumbers, or see that it's not that hard. It takes dedication and 100 hours plus of work.
Absolutely, man. I love it. Rule breakers are great. Like, that's what creates the evolution of where we need to go as an industry. I love.
And I want to touch on, I think it's so funny because what was it? A year ago, I was interviewing you on my entrepreneur podcast, and now you're interviewing me as an entrepreneur on your podcast. And it's so funny because how like we twisted it around. But one of the reasons I think I wanted to make your listeners know that Ron and me connected because of Builder Comms. He was actually, I don't think it was Builder Comms at the time. It was something else. It was,
Yeah, and if it was Nut Nest at the time, that did.
Yep.
So that goes back a few years.
Yeah, and I pegged Ron for this because he was someone that after I read his bio, he just came across my LinkedIn, and I had to reach out because of what he was doing. And Builder Comms for us, I want to give you some good press here. Builder Comms for us is great. We use it on projects. We've currently been like on a hiatus from it because we've been waiting for different things to take place, like big jobs, and we're getting ready to reuse it for this big job and start using it as project management. Ron's company, Builder Comms, is one of the most, I would say there's so many companies that do this stuff. Ron's company does something that a lot of companies don't, and I think that what we utilize it for in the free tier, and we just use the free tier right now, working towards the paid tier, even works for us on the free tier. The paid tier works for a lot of people that I've talked to that have used it and have had conversations. They love it. So if you can picture that as something you can utilize, I would reach out to Ron's company and check out Builder Comms.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I know we've had a lot of conversations around that, but we've had a lot of conversations also around the community, around the construction industry. And I think one of the things that I love what you're doing is that you're tapping into that. And a lot of people in our industry, there's a scarcity mindset that you can't have these relationships with everybody because they're your competition. But most places have enough work that we can all resist, and we would be better off as companies, as everything we do, is if we just started coming together and having some of these conversations and understanding that, who my customer is might not be your customer, and vice versa. And we all have our ebb and flows, and people are going to choose who they want to do business with at the end of the day. It shouldn't hinder our ability to come together to be able to support the greater mission of the construction industry, especially in our local towns.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I can agree with that. There's a lot of people in this area. Everybody doesn't want to share. Everybody's very greedy, and there's actually a big construction company in our town that's been here since the start of the town, it feels like. And there's a lot of guys that have been in here. I think you've seen my posts. I talk about these 12 to 30 year veterans. And I try not to dog veterans in this industry. One of the problems in this area, and this is where I see where we can share and all be in the same space. One of the things I run into, the 12 to 30 year veterans, what they end up doing in this area is they use that experience number as a way to justify, well, I made a couple mistakes. Well, if you're making that same mistake and I'm out on 8 of your jobs, fixing those 8 jobs, and you're 30 years in and I've been doing this 2 to 3 years, I think, by myself at this point, and you want to tell me that I'm doing something wrong because I don't know X, Y, Z. I get a lot of people who tell me, well, you need to know the code book front to back. But when I confront them, do you know it front to back? No, I have it in my truck. Okay, I have it in my truck too. I have the NEC, I have I have all that stuck in the truck. You don't need to tell me, because I've had guys get in my face at Lowe's even and say, you don't belong in this industry. You haven't done this for 12 to 30 years. You have no experience. But my reviews and my clients will tell you that it's not the experience that gives you the drive for your business. It's not the experience. It is the experience that'll help you, but it's not the experience that's going to get you clients. It is you're going out in the community and showing what your value is worth. My value to the community in the area is coming together and bringing people of different walks of life. I have a lot of different people who work for me that are different spectrums, different religious views, different political views, all working on one goal: to help the community build together, whether we agree with each other or not. At the end of the day, we're all working on the same team to build a community that's we want to live in. And I like how you said we can all work together. There's a lot of people in this area that will work together, that will help support and show that support. There's a lot of people in this industry, in this area specifically, Pennsylvania, where I live, not so much on the outskirts of where I live, that are really prideful of themselves because they've been in so long. And again, I think it's great. Some of these guys do amazing work, and I don't specifically call out companies. There's a lot of guys though that will use that pride and use it to catcall at you, and I've had beer bottles thrown at my trucks. I've had cigarettes put out on my vehicle while I've been at job sites because I don't belong. I'm a newbie, and as they call me, a greenhorn. I don't have experience like they've had or have worked. Their families have been in it for generations and generations. But here's where I see the shift in the industry. And I've talked to you, and I talked to a bunch of people online on LinkedIn, and had email conversations with a lot of different people. The shift is if you're going to say that the industry belongs to the veterans, like the 12, 30-year people and their family members, but they're dying off and we're losing the momentum of keeping that going, the plumbers, the electricians, and there's a strain on this industry, keeping infrastructure going and supplies and demand and everything. But you want to cut us off. People who are revolutionaries coming in wanting that, not just option, but that chance. Whereas I will bring people in, it may have been their first chance in this industry. Like the electrician that works for me, she is, as a woman, she was cast out of even getting she went to different places and she tried to get positions. No one would hire her because of who she is or because of her gender or because she had no experience. I was talking to one of my newer people that's kind of coming on. We're working on getting them on fully. They were telling me because they're they're a butch lesbian, which that's the terminology I'll use because they'll tell me that they are, and they look like it, but they don't. They went to different construction companies before coming to me and said, I tried to get hired and no one will hire me because I'm a woman, because they don't want to work around a woman. I have no problem with that. I gave her a chance, and I'll tell you what, some of the women on my crew work harder and throw sledgehammers faster than the men that work for me. And it's insane. And that's not to uplift or say that there's a certain gender that I will hire, because I'll hire anybody. But my thing is I'm giving people opportunities that they aren't even being given at a major construction company. And I'm going to throw names of the big ones around here that we see a lot of: Kinsley, George & Sons, companies that JLG, any company around here that works with construction or is a construction company. These are people who want to go in to work with them. They'll go to these big companies and they'll get cast down. Now, a company around here that I will really praise, David H. Martin is an excavating company. They are someone who I have heard will bring these kind of people on to give them the opportunity, and they reward them with showing their certificates. They'll put their team on the posts and stuff. They'll reward them for this kind of behavior or coming into wanting that drive. So they're one of the companies that we are very, very prideful in this area. I will speak of. I've never worked directly with them. I know of them. I see their trucks. I wave at their guys. They're very good people. David H. Martin is one of the companies around here that I will highly support if they gave me an opportunity to work with them. But then there's the companies that I have worked with, and I'm, again, not going to mention the name. I don't want to cause issues, but we were on a job at a big medical facility with my crew recently. I had 3 female employees and a male employee. And the amount of disrespect, sexual advances, and problems, and not to mention, I don't know much, but when I was pulling up things on my phone, there was code violations, there was different things, and I wasn't the main super on the job. I was a sub brought on to help with different things. There were so many violations, and just from my little knowledge, pulling the code books and seeing it, and I mentioned it to the project manager, who then an hour later, the guy that hired me, my boss technically, came on the job and told me to get the F off because I was no longer welcome there. Well, then when I get the text from his boss saying, what happened? They said you disrespected the project manager. I had said I just brought up concerns. So then I start getting cussed at. And what really bothered me was I said, so what I'm going to say is I did bring up those concerns. There was low ventilation. It was in an active medical facility where out in the hallway, people are going to get treatments, cancer, whatever, and dust was forming in the halls in those other rooms, and it was a concern because there was lack of ventilation. There was wires hanging down that were live in this building out in the hall as well that were causing great concern to me and my crew members, that I had to bring it to the project manager, who is, again, a big company in this area. But then the guy that had hired me through his boss, again, it's a chain of command. There's always a chain of command. Told me, it was very disrespectful for me to say what I said to the project manager. And well, then I said, well, what about my crew? I said, my crew was I was very upset the way I was hearing me being talked about. And again, I don't care how I was talked about, but the females, the sexuality on that crew. And again, it's a very raunchy environment. Construction's a raunchy environment. But when my 21-year-old female crew member comes to me and says she was groped by another male that wasn't even on my team, that's where I had concern. So one of my goals in this industry is not to make it a very unfun environment, because I'm not, but I'm very much so trying to revolutionize who can come in, who can help, because there's a lot of kids who come to me and said, I want a job. Can I have a job? Oh, well, I'm not hiring right now, but I can get you somewhere where you can get hired, and where it's a good environment for you. Because there's a lot of kids, believe it or not, in this area that want to work in the trade industry, but they're being shut down by older veterans who don't want them to work. And I'm not, again, not dogging veterans. I actually work alongside people who have been in this industry way longer than I'll even be able to be alive. And they're great older gentlemen, and they're the ones that actually supported me years ago and helped get me apprenticeship programs in different industries like plumbing, electrical, that got me connections that helped me build this business. Now, I mean, I stopped in high school. I went through Baton College, went 5 months for psychology, realized I didn't want to do that, dropped out of college to go into a corporate lifestyle, got certified in different areas, and that's where I ended up here. To basically help shape the industry. I don't have a business degree. I don't have fancy knowledge. What I believe that this industry needs is common sense and people who are willing to step out of their comfort zone and help bring those of knowledge that are good people in with them and build a business that's going to succeed for generations to come.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I hear when you're talking, it's amazing. You bring up the veteran thing. I've been around this industry and in it for, I think it'll be coming up on 16 years next year. So I literally last week was sitting here thinking, like, is this experience that I have handicapped at this point in time? Have I been around this too long? Like, because one of my core values is status quo challenging. Like, we should always be challenging the status quo. Personally, business wise, if you're not pushing the boundaries, and for some reason, these thoughts came into my mind where I was like, I have been around this so long, is like, do I have any blinders on? Is there anything that I have a jaded perspective on? And I mean, we have 300 episodes. I'm a pretty open book, and I'm a pretty open thinker in the construction industry. But for some reason, I was asking myself that question. My conclusion was that I don't, because I don't allow myself to. Like, I don't allow past experiences to dictate what the next outcome should be. We should just be creating success. And that success consistently looks different throughout the years and as business grows. But it's a great question to ask. Like, you talk about being in the corporate world for 17 years. Like, at some point in time, you have to ask yourself, is this an advantage or is it a disadvantage? Because if I was sitting here with 16 years of experience and I never changed anything, I would say it's a disadvantage because I'm not leveraging that experience into what it could actually be and what it could become.
Well, and one of the things I think that you and me are unique on is you said you're challenging yourself, learning, actively learning. There's so much changing daily. If you're not keeping up with those changes and you say, well, my 30 years experience is what is going to keep me going, you can't say that. There's AI specifically. Let's use AI for example. AI has really taken off. There is a lot going on that we can utilize as business owners and as in the construction industry. My wife and me in this business use a lot of AI, maybe not to make advertising. We use it to help create our posts, help create our contracts, and then we go through and check everything. There's a lot more tools now that you can take advantage of. Now, let's go to the learning side, not just tools. And I'm not talking like regular hand tools. I'm talking like the computers, technology, taking it to our advantage. I have a tablet, a tough book that I take out. It's my field computer. And then I have a tough computer that I take out. And I utilize that with our home server to bring out all of our equipment like project builder comms or anything else in the field to allow me to help revolutionize what I'm doing. But the learning side of things is last year I got criticized. Someone I knew, they're not friends with me, I'm not associated with them anymore. Someone I knew, I would call her husband because I'd have questions because I was still learning. I was still getting back into the swing of things. I hadn't done this since high school. And I got critiqued online because I was called an idiot for wanting to ask questions. He's always asking my husband for questions. He's always calling this person to make sure he's doing it right. Well, if you're doing this for so long and you can't teach another person around you to, maybe they're having a question or maybe they're not sure of something. Well, then I get told, well, then if you don't know anything, get out. Okay. Well, if you know everything, but I'm going out to your job and I find these wires that could have caused a fire hazard or this plumbing that was jacked up, and you've been 30 years ahead of me, but I asked a question and it got me, ousted. I don't I don't see the difference. If you're not willing to learn after 30 years and ask those questions and see if I'm really doing this for me or the money. Like I have a lot of people I know that just do this for the money. They think it's a great money pit. Like they can get in and make tons of money. Working for someone else, maybe. Working for yourself, no. I may gross a good bit of money, but at the end of the day, I put that back into either the community, either my company, myself, making sure our house is taken care of so we can continue doing what we're doing. My expertise, I'm always learning. I'm always going online and on LinkedIn and looking up different articles on construction, materials, acquisitions. That's another thing. Acquisitions. I did the stock market for a while. I didn't do trading like as a job, but I learned a lot about different company acquisitions, like Lowe's acquiring this new company with building materials. That acquisition is going to help my company because our closest building, which is a corporation, is Lowe's, which also, acquires tons of stuff daily. It's a billion-dollar industry, the construction industry. Acquisitions, whether it's a company that's a construction business acquiring another construction business, is important. People don't think it is, but it does affect the bottom line for everybody around you. Let's say it's a local company getting bought by a corporation. That affects you because now you got to find those clients are getting, taken by that corporation. And maybe they don't want to go to someone who doesn't care about the bottom line. So you just give it time. They come to you. The learning aspect, though, going online, reading articles, seeing what's new, seeing new tools, going to trade shows. I'm sure you go to a lot of those trade shows, seeing what is in the industry, what that's new, like whether that's a drill, whether that's an excavator, and you may not even be using the excavator for your job, just learning that there's new stuff out there that can be utilized down the road for your company helps show that you are willing to learn new skills and techniques. I mean, I learned a new technique the other day that I didn't think I would learn. I got out on a job with someone. They were showing me something, and I was a sub on that job, and I was impressed with this new technique that I'd never seen before. And it is something because of the tools that are available now. It allows us to use new techniques. It allows us to be creative, and maybe there's a limitation in that job. I've seen guys who say, look, for example, I've seen a lot of people when I was doing this entrepreneur thing, people are like, oh, I can't do this. I'm too young for that. I don't have the brain power. Let me tell you what, I have, as a war vet, I'm sure you'll understand this one. There's a lot of guys who have one leg, one arm, missing a whole hand, and they're out here daily in the mud and dirt and stuff, digging, building. And I've come up with a lot of these guys, and they are amazing guys. And they are war vets or just guys who lost a limb doing what they're doing, either linemen or cut it off with a saw, and they're still going at it. I don't like the whole I can't do it mentality because I was there. I stopped myself. I left corporate. I almost went back to the I can't do it mentality, and I stayed in this industry. I stayed in something that is not comfortable. Doing this is not comfortable. I mean, you know this. You don't know when your next check is. You don't know when your next meal is if you're not getting paid. And even if you work for someone, if they're dry, you're dry. And at the end of the day, one of the things that I like about this, and you were asking about the championship thing, and I think going back to it, being uncomfortable. I like being uncomfortable, knowing that it's a challenge daily. Service members know this. Marines, Army, everybody knows this. You're always uncomfortable. This is its own, and this is probably why you got into it. This is its own kind of war zone. Every day you're going out to fight rain, sleet, snow, mud, dirt, machinery, injuries. It's a war zone out there, and we are always fighting to be better at what we're doing, constantly learning to adapt and build that idea or that job or that industry up better than what was left before us. I hope that answers it, but that kind of is where I've been really challenged lately to really learn more around me, whether that's reading more codes or learning local local codes that maybe are different and changing, but that's another thing, is keeping up with that stuff.
I love it, man. I absolutely love it. This has been a fantastic conversation here today. For all of our listeners, if they wanted to connect with you, follow you, learn more about your businesses, where's the best place for them to do that?
So the best place to do that is LinkedIn. If you just want to connect with me, LinkedIn. It would be Joel B. Ward, I think, on there, and my face will pop up, the exact one with Titan Legacy Builders. That's the best way. If you want to just connect with me and ask questions, that's the best way to connect. If you want to learn more of us, learn more about us as a business, our Facebook page, Titan Legacy Builders LLC. We have a LinkedIn page. We have a Google page where you can read reviews, see pictures and videos of jobs we've done. Our socials are the best way to connect with us. And if you want to really reach out, my email is on LinkedIn. Feel free to reach out, ask questions. We're always looking to partner with companies locally and learn more about it. I mean, I got back from a trip in New York, and a company reached out from New Jersey that saw my truck in New York while I was vacationing, mind you, with my truck, and reached out to do a partnership here locally. So if you just want to learn something, partner with us. It's great. It helps us build a local community, helps us build other communities. Feel free to reach out.
Awesome, man. Well, Joe, thank you for taking the time and being on the show today.
Ron, it's been amazing, and I always look forward to hearing from you.
Awesome. All right, Construction Champions, another episode in the bag. The question is are you challenging yourself, or are you leaning on decades of experience as the reason? We can all get complacent. Towards the end, Joe threw around the war zone that construction actually is. I came from the Marine Corps. Construction saved my life when I ended up on a job site, and it is a war zone. But you find that camaraderie, you find that brotherhood that you're looking for, the connection with people, a real raw connection with people happens on a job site. And years of experience can start to bring on complacency. We used to preach it in the Marine Corps over and over. Complacency kills. Complacency kills. As soon as you think you know what's going to happen, that's something will happen. That's why you get in situations where there's issues on projects, because we just become complacent. So we've been doing this for 20 years. It's just another job. But if you're not revisiting this, challenging the status quo, that just another job turns into a headache. So, Construction Champions, until next time, be the champion you're meant to be.